A lot of people are kicking on me for calling it out. After testing the Sachs RS, I knew the power was exaggerated. It worked, the motor was nice, it was legal. Okay, this is a Sachs motor. It's a bit more noisy, but it's smooth. 112 Newton meters. Oh, wow. This is what a motor feels like. Yeah, making motorbike noises. Wow, it just keeps pushing. It's got so much torque. How do they do that? Okay, so where are we today? So Rob Rides and a couple of other English magazines have read what I read, but I knew this ages ago, and they put out their things, and I wanted to quote a few examples. So Rob Rides' EMTB forum just published an article, his opinion and his take on the whole power struggle, who controls the future of EMTB, because we're talking about businesses, money, users. I think his key takeaway was it comes down to who gets to shape the future of EMTB. That should include us, the riders. What do we actually want from the sport? DJI came along with their powerful motor. It was a technical decision. They decided, right, let's put these specs out there, let's make it go. Obviously engaged media. I don't know if they did it for free or how they did it, and pushed this motor, which is absolutely fine. Point is the ZIV industry body for mountain bikes and cycles set some standards which they want new motors to adhere to self-regulate the whole system. You know, I figured out 4 or 5 months ago, 6 months ago, that the DJI motor wasn't quite right. It was setting me alarm bells off in my head. It was like, hey, what's going on here? This doesn't make sense. How can you have something that's sold as 250 watts and yet they're advertising as more? There was no small print sort of explaining it. It sort of just says it's nominal, and the peak powers should not be used for advertising if you are talking about a legal number to actually sell based on that number, not sell based on other numbers which technically wouldn't be legal. Or you'd have to explain it in great detail how you got to that number, because you're kind of doing a merry dance with the consumer. In the States, it's a little bit more clear-cut. In California, where they have a 750 watt maximum peak limit, and you cannot go above that, otherwise you can't sell the bike for class 1. But there's some more thoughts to this. The hole goes deeper. DJI have already had this motor out in the market. It's out there, functioning, making people happy. It works well. It respects the legal rules of today, no problem. But if there's going to be changes, those specs will change. And anyone who purchased the bike before those changes might have the right, and this is where I'm going to start reading actually, because this is important, to compensation. But it might not just be the consumer who has the right, also the brands who bought that motor, they also might have rights to compensation or a better deal from what they originally were selling it as. There's a precedent for this in the past, and that's the Dieselgate from Volkswagen. And I actually personally had one of those cars which had the dodgy software in it from Volkswagen. And I think one of the key things is that I don't think DJI, they didn't appear to think about the whole community of cycling and what it means, because it's, you know, we're in an area where there's a grey area between cycling and not cycling, and this is obviously my opinion, but it's based on legal facts. There are a few key factors that matter. First of all, the nature of the spec change. Is it been a material change that affects safety, performance or compatibility, or is it a minor or cosmetic change that are less likely to trigger legal issues? The product was originally sold, then the consumer purchased it based on the original specs, so that's very important. Was the customer informed of potential future changes? Obviously, this is not in law yet. There are no changes having to happen. The motor is legal according to the rules today. What happens in the future if the rules change? DJI have made a statement to MBR. They said, we're closely monitoring the EU regulations and committed to adhere to established guidelines. We also committed to providing our users with support in light of any regulatory changes that may impact our products. Should such circumstances arise, we ensure that our users have access to the necessary resources and guidance for adapting their purchased products. We're not there. That's what you got to remember. It's a risk. And this has been happening in the tech industry for years. In many countries, the US, UK, EU, consumer protection laws require that a product sold matches its advertised description and is fit for purpose. So that means, you know, it has to do what it says on the advertising. So if it says 850 watts, it must reach 850 watts. I don't know how they promoted that, but that's what it must do. Post-sale spec change, it means the product no longer meets expectations or described functionality. Consumers may be entitled to remedies, repair, replacement, refund, or compensation. It's all very well doing the power game, but I think you've got to be aware of the risks you take by pushing the envelope with power on an e-pack bike, because at the end of the day, there are other trail users which come into that scope. The multi-level scenario, this, not only do you need to follow guidelines as a manufacturer, there is something else on the line: trail access. I talked to Jens from Testpilot, who has been building and supporting trails for decades. I wanted to know his take on the topic. Are e-bikes putting trail access at risk?
No, I'm always a guy that's more for the gray and not a black and white. But what we need to understand is that we had a boom in the pandemic that brought more people outside of the sport into the sports. And if you look at the sales numbers of ZIV, it's like in 2022, it was the first year that mountain bikes ever overtook or took the pole position in bike sales in Germany. It was about 38%. And the year after, in 2023, it was even 39%. So we see that e-bikes are actually bringing more people into the sport. As advertised by the industry, e-bikes are enabling people to do more runs. So if you look at the pandemic and let's say you're bringing in 50 new MTB people, regular mountain bikes, and 50 e-bikers into a new trail area. And just as a matter of fact, the e-bikers will do more runs. So more runs, no matter if you're looking at a mountain bike or an e-bike, it's just more pressure on a trail area. So what I'm questioning myself is, all these new people, are they aware of mountain bike culture? Are they aware of trail etiquette? And while it's questionable if an e-mountain bike will actually generate more pressure or erosion on a trail or more issues, more power couldn't always be the solution. Like, you need to understand that there is somewhat of a limit. I don't know where it is yet. Pushing the limits of more power is a tough one, because if you look at a Surin or a full motocross bike, they are fun. I like them. I've ridden some tiny ones, but hey, you can't go out on the trails on them. You will generate some issues. And erosion is just one of them. You can't just go like 30K, 40K, 50K into a hiker group. There are limits due to these facts. Even the mountain bike scene, and from industry side, we need to educate people that there are rules in the forest to get along nicely and to keep trail access.
Hey, thanks for that, Jens. And basically, at the end of the day, I just want the market to, I agree completely with what Rob Ride says, what MBR says, and obviously what the ZIV say. I really think that this issue is really important for the sales every day of bicycles. I want to make sure it doesn't become a passive transport industry. If you've got any opinions, I'm sure you have, and you're going to blame me for it in the comments, go for it. And I will see you on the next video. Thanks everyone, and thanks Jens, bye.